Welcome to INSZN's first ever college football show. I have Christian Berry, co-founder, along with myself here at INSZN. We are here to talk about week 10 of the 2025 college football season. I've highlighted kind of 6 games that I know we wanted to talk about, but Christian kind of can go through some of the high-level analytics and all of that for us. Basically, before we kind of get going, Christian, do you want to give us just a rundown of what INSZN is?
Yeah, absolutely. So INSZN is an analytics platform that focuses on player and team level evaluations, starting at the most granular level, which is the player, building it up to their positional categories, such as quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, brings it up to the next level and talks about offense versus defense. And then at the top level, we look at the roster itself. And so what this allows us to do is to evaluate teams at the most granular level, which is the player, and then assess how they will perform in a given game versus a given matchup, and ultimately how they're going to perform just any given weekend. So that's kind of the high level behind what INSZN as a platform is. And aside from that, we offer bespoke, customizable analytics that allow you to kind of get the most out of understanding what your team looks like on a given week, or understanding what the games might look like from an outcome perspective.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that anyone watching this, obviously big college football fans, they should go check it out. We have a link in the bio. You can either go to inszn.co, INSZN.co, or INSZN College Football, CFB.com. Both of those will get you there. And it's fun to check it out. We'll obviously be looking at it today. So let's just get right into it. I want to talk Oklahoma versus Tennessee is the first game I want to talk about, kind of looking at this. I know Oklahoma is coming off tough loss against Ole Miss. The Tennessee Volunteers offense is incredible. Joey Aguilar is playing. I'm sure we'll talk about this more, whether or not this video or upcoming videos, but he's definitely up there in terms of what we look to see in our Heisman candidates and Heisman finalists. But I'm excited. This is going to be a great matchup. Very strong Oklahoma defense versus very strong, high-powered Tennessee offense. If you want to pull up INSZN and kind of go through the platform, we can go through and look at it. I want to the over-under on this game is 55.5 right now. I checked right before this. The Tennessee is favored. Volunteers are favored by 3 points right now. So kind of a football number there. And actually in our AQR resume rankings, which basically looks at teams' resumes as of week 10 or before week 10 starts, Tennessee is our 19th ranked team. So this should help them or help Oklahoma get back into that top 25 of the AQR. So let's pull this up.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is just a view of our scouting report. We do this for every single game, every single week in Division I FBS. And what this really does is gives us a look into the teams from a head-to-head standpoint. We're able to look at offenses versus defenses. We're able to look at positional ratings of both teams. We're able to look at just their offenses solo, defenses solo. So really what this allows us to do is look at this matchup from a head-to-head standpoint and try to derive, what is the analytics, what is the data telling us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can get as granular as we want in this, which is very cool. I've gone down rabbit holes on INSZN many a nights, the last few nights for sure. But let's just use this as an example. I mean, I was talking before about the matchup of OU's offense versus Tennessee's defense and vice versa. Both of those are kind of interesting matchups. So let's talk through that if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can look at OU's offense versus Tennessee's defense. And I think the question is, has Tennessee seen an offense this season that looks like OU? And I think the question is yes. I don't think that this is any super high-powered offense that's going to put up a ton of points on Tennessee. But I think this is kind of the run-of-the-mill that they've seen over the past couple weeks. I think this is comparable to, an Alabama or a Georgia. And so, OU's going to be able to put up points against Tennessee. But I think the question kind of relates to will OU be able to stop Tennessee from scoring?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And this is something, Cutter Boley for Kentucky last week. Not that it was ever really a game that Tennessee was worried about. Throughout the game, they kind of had a handle on it, but Cutter Boley put up 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards, kind of his best game in his young career. And John Mateer, as a senior, since coming back from that hand injury, has not looked the same. And so this might be kind of a get right game for him statistically. I don't know if that means that OU's going to win the game or they're going to be able to score a ton of points, but I fully expect the athletes and the offense that they have, Mateer to put up some points and them to have a good chance. But you're right. I think the more interesting question is that Tennessee offense versus Oklahoma defense. Kind of to your point, Tennessee's defense has seen offenses like Oklahoma. Really, Oklahoma's defense, other than last weekend against Ole Miss, has not seen much of this kind of high-powered offense that Tennessee has. So if you want to walk through that as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is just looking at, what has OU's defense allowed this season versus what Tennessee's been able to produce this season. It's kind of a stark contrast of, will OU be able to put up similar numbers and hold Tennessee to similar metrics this weekend? I don't know. But I don't think that OU has faced what Tennessee is capable of doing. Now, whether that translates or not, we can go take a look at it. But yeah, I think the point you brought up about Mateer is pretty interesting. We can jump into looking at Mateer as well, him needing a bounce back game, because we know Tennessee is capable of scoring a lot of points. So do you want to go ahead and jump into looking at what Mateer looks like right now?
Yeah. Let's go over to the player profile on John Mateer.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, as you can see, the first 4 games, pretty solid, scoring, couple touchdowns, about 250, 260 yards averaging. And then that hand injury happened, set out against Kent State. And then returning from that injury, just hasn't really performed well. I mean, a pretty abysmal performance against Texas, 3 interceptions. Now, do you relate that to him coming off an injury? Do you relate that to Tennessee's or to Texas's defense? I mean, that's kind of an upstanding question.
Yeah. Or even just, it was 17 days post surgery. So not just an injury, but also, no, he hasn't been practicing. So, Texas has a good defense. I think there's a lot of factors there. You can almost write that off as well, but you're right. Kind of keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I mean, but we're just looking at kind of the 2 games following, pretty solid performances. I mean, South Carolina only threw for 155 yards, not great. But, against Ole Miss, had a decent game. They obviously didn't come away with the win, but, putting up 26 points, pretty decent showing for the Sooners that week. I think one of the things I want to talk about a little bit too is Mateer's playmaking ability. And when I reference playmaking ability, it's really being able to create plays that are greater than 20 yards, really being able to get the ball down the field efficiently. He kind of lives in this medium pass range zone. That's kind of where his expertise is, those 10 to 20 yard passes down the middle of the field. And so it's really going to be whether, is he able to break across Tennessee's secondary coverage and get some of those big time plays. When he gets those big time plays, OU's offense does well. If everything's kind of pulled back to that short, medium gain, you have to rely a lot on the run game for OU. Yeah,
no, exactly. And it'll be interesting to watch him. Would you mind also pulling up? Let's go over to Joey Aguilar and talk about him just briefly. Because I think that even though this is going to be, Oklahoma's defense is only allowing 12.5 points per game, 240 yards per game. Statistically right now, they're the best defense in the SEC and one of the best in the nation. But really looking at, other than that Ole Miss game last weekend where they gave up 34 points, they have not played a lot of high-powered offenses. So I think some of that could definitely be, who they've played. Some of it is they definitely are a good defense. This will be kind of an interesting game. I expect this to kind of be like the Tennessee-Alabama game. kind of a high scoring game, even though there's some good defensive play. But yeah, let's walk through Aguilar a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, kind of where Mateer struggles in that deep pass range, throwing the deep ball, getting the ball down the field. That's where Aguilar really has a lot of success. I mean, he's one of the best deep ball passers in the country. Thrives under the blitzes. So another thing that we can discuss is OU's has pretty good coverage defense, but they're also one of the better pass rushing defenses in the SEC this year. So Aguilar's ability to not only stay in the pocket, look at that second and third read, but also being able to handle the pressure, handle the hits, handle the blitzes that OU might throw at him. If OU's able to get to him and get a sack, that's great. But if the coverage breaks down, blitz is coming, and Aguilar's able to get it down the field, I think that's one of the risks that OU is going to face. So it's going to be interesting to see how their defensive schema, how they prepare against a quarterback like Aguilar in an offense like Tennessee has.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think it'll be. I mean, it's one of my most interesting matchups for this week is that kind of offensive and defensive pairing. So, I mean, do you have any kind of final thoughts on this game? Any predictions or projections or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say from a prediction standpoint, I think that this is going to be a high scoring affair. I think Tennessee's going to be capable of scoring on OU's defense. I don't think OU's really faced a defense like they're going to see against Tennessee. On the converse, I think OU scores. I think Mateer has even more kind of continued that trend of bouncing back from that week 5 injury. And so I think it's going to be a high scoring affair. I think Tennessee takes this, and I think they take it by more than a touchdown. I just don't think that OU has seen an offense like Tennessee's this year. And I think that Aguilar's, throwing IQ, ability to make smart plays, get it down the field. That's another thing I wanted to point out. His ability to not turn the ball over, get the ball downfield, and make the second or third look plays, I think is just going to greatly benefit Tennessee's offense. So that's kind of my prediction. What about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, last week, Joey Aguilar was 7 for 7 on deep throws. I fully expected them to take some shots early, kind of show some holes in that OUD. And I mean, really, when you're looking at the matchups this weekend, in terms of AP poll rankings right now, this is one of the only kind of ranked matchups. This could be, this very well could be Aguilar's Heisman game. He could, if he puts up some big numbers, makes some big plays, he might kind of run away with this thing just looking at his stats so far. So I think this is a very exciting game, exciting matchup. I'm excited to watch it. Any OU Tennessee fans out there, like this is our first show. We will get better at this, and we will continue putting content out there for y'all. So give us a like, follow, subscribe, reach out to us on X or on Instagram, and then check out INSZN.co. There's the link in the bio. Next game I was looking at, we could talk about one of the only 2 ranked matchups for our AQR rankings, those resume rankings, Navy versus North Texas. I haven't seen a lot of talk about this other than some people tried to get College Game Day to go to this early on. Obviously they went to Cincinnati versus Utah, so they're going out to Salt Lake City. But I wanted to talk about this. This is kind of an interesting matchup. I mean, Navy's undefeated, North Texas with 1 loss, but one of the best, if not the best, offenses in the nation. Very fun to watch. They're kind of an over machine. I think right now the spread I'm looking at 6.5 in favor of North Texas, and the over under is 65.5. So if you want to pull some of that up, we can kind of talk through that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is going to be a high scoring affair. I mean, this is Navy's, running the ball down their throats versus North Texas' ability with Mestemaker to pass the ball pretty well. So I think that this is just going to be a high scoring affair. I mean, we can look at kind of their headline analytics here. I mean, Navy rushes the ball about 320 yards per game, while North Texas passes the ball for about 320 yards a game. So it's going to be kind of hard for either of these teams to have defensive schemes that they can set up that are going to be effective, one versus the other. So I think it's going to be a super fun game to watch, super high scoring. I think North Texas does take this game. I think Mestemaker's ability to get the ball down the field and his just ability to win games, I think is going to prove well for North Texas. But do you want to look at anything in particular here?
I mean, honestly, we've talked about Mestemaker enough. Let's pull him up and look at him. I think this is a fun game. This will be on one of my screens on Saturday. You're right. It's kind of a good comparison between kind of a run heavy offense that still puts up a lot of yards, a lot of points versus a kind of throw first air raid type offense that Eric Morris has at North Texas. So yeah, let's look at Drew Mestemaker for a little bit. Walk me through kind of where he is and kind of the story on him. He did not start a game in high school. Eric Morris, who a lot of people know, he kind of found Cam Ward at Incarnate Word in a triple option offense, found John Mateer, who we were just talking about. And yeah, now he has Drew Mestemaker. And what did he put up? 608 yards last week?
Through the air, 608 passing yards. I mean, that's just absurd.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk a little bit about him. I love him. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country this year. One of the things I want to highlight is he has such a high throwing IQ. And what I mean by that, when I say throwing IQ, is he's not making plays that lead to turnovers. I mean, you can look at the USF game and say, okay, he had 3 interceptions. Take away that game, he has had a phenomenal season in terms of passing. I mean, you can look at last week, 4 touchdowns, 608 yards, accuracy of around 90%. And when we say accuracy, what we're actually talking about here is it doesn't matter if the ball is caught or not. Accuracy is, was the ball thrown to a receiver that could have caught the ball? So there's a little bit of onus on both the quarterback and the receiver to actually complete a pass, but this takes away the onus from the quarterback and saying, or from the receiver and saying, was this a well-thrown ball? So love Mestemaker. He's continuing to improve game over game, really getting comfortable in the North Texas offense, able to really command the offense in scoring. I mean, they're back-to-back games, 55 and 54 points. I think on the season they're averaging about 42. I think they'll continue to do that against Navy. So that's just kind of my high-level thoughts. Do you want to break into anything specific? Any questions you have about this?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the talk about accuracy is really interesting. I mean, I think it's an interesting metric because you have, kind of like in baseball, you have batting average versus on base percentage versus OPS, all that stuff. The completion percentage is what, everyone quotes all the time. And you're right. If the pass was completed, there's also adjusted completion percentage, which kind of looks at a ball that was caught by a receiver or balls that could have been caught. But this you're kind of looking at accuracy. It really does put a lot of onus on the quarterback.
Yeah.
In terms of, 90% accuracy rate is unheard of, and that's kind of like, wow, look at that. He's a stud, and he's fun to watch. That North Texas offense is fun to watch, and right now I don't think that they would be slotted for the college football playoff, but they win this game. It would not surprise me to see the North Texas Mean Green to be in the playoff come December.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to? Should we talk a little bit about Navy's defense to see if they can what they're able to do against Mestemaker?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Sure. So, I mean, their pass rush defense is one of the top in the country. Let me see if I can actually. Can you see that down there? No, I think the banner's blocking it. Let me.
Banner might be here. Hold on. Let me try this. That doesn't help at all. Never mind.
Does that help at all? No. We can cut this part out. Do that.
There. Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I do want to discuss is, will Navy be able to stop the passing against North Texas, against Mestemaker? They haven't shown it this season. They're actually one of the bottom 15, 16 percentiles in FBS in terms of coverage defense. I think that's a big point to highlight. I think, they do have great pass rush defense. So they're able to get to the quarterback, but it breaks the coverage down the field. So it's going to be interesting to see what their schema changes look like in terms of saying, hey, we know we have to stop Mestemaker down the field. We know that we can get to the quarterback. Is there a way we can blend those two things together and say, hey, Mestemaker, freshman quarterback, can we get some pressure on him such that he actually makes plays that could lead to turnovers? Can we try to replicate what happened against USF in this game? I think that's their only hope because having a coverage defense grade of F against a North Texas offense which thrives on Mestemaker's passing ability is a little bit dangerous.
I agree. And like I said, this is going to be a fun matchup. I'm excited. I fully expect there to be a lot of points in this game. North Texas so far has been an over machine. I think it's going to be fun, and definitely tune in if you haven't got a chance to watch it. So that's that North Texas. The other ranked matchup, when you look at the AQR season's AQR resume rankings, Cincinnati versus Utah. Cincinnati number 12 in the AQR versus Utah, who's number 18. The spread on this game has moved significantly. Now it's minus 10.5 Utah. Over-unders 54.5. Kind of want to talk through some of this with you. Big time Big 12 matchup. Looks like there's probably going to be another one next week with Texas Tech versus BYU. So yeah, I want to talk through this a little bit. I know you pulled that up.
Yeah.
Walk me through this.
Yeah, so for those who are just joining for this part, this is our scouting report, which we do every week for every game. What we're really trying to highlight here is offense versus defense. This is kind of not exactly the same, but very similar to how we're looking at OU Tennessee. This is a Utah defense versus a Cincinnati offense. And you said the line was 10.5 Utah?
10.5 Utah.
I'm a little surprised by that from the standpoint of, look, Cincinnati went against a Baylor team last week. Not the best defense, but they put up 41, won by about 21, I believe. I'm surprised that it's Utah 10.5. I would think this matchup would be a little more close. I know the altitude can sometimes be a factor for some of these Southern Big 12 teams going out to Utah. But look, I think this is a more evenly ranked matchup than not. I think that Cincinnati's going to be able to move the ball down the field. I think that Sorsby's a great quarterback. I think he makes smart decision making. I'm not necessarily sure if Utah's defense is going to be able to stop all of Cincinnati's offensive efficiencies. Anything in particular you want me to focus on here?
Yeah, no, I mean, you kind of hit on it, but Brendan Sorsby has been playing phenomenal. He's kind of protected the ball, managed games well, and made a lot of plays. I think he has kind of been playing himself into higher and higher rounds, or I guess lower and lower rounds, depending on how you look at it. But kind of to be a higher draft pick than what a lot of people were thinking. He has the arm strength. He's been more and more accurate. If you want to pull up Brendan Sorsby, let's look at him just a little bit in his progression. Talk me through kind of what you're seeing with him.
I mean, highly efficient quarterback, one of the best passers in the NCAA this year. And when I say passing, separating out any of his ability to run the ball, but just looking at, when he's throwing the ball, is it accurate? And I mean, he had actually perfect game of accuracy against Northwestern State. Now, take that as you will. But that's kind of his trend all season. He's not going to get you the most yards of any passing quarterback, but what he does is make very, very smart plays. 19 touchdowns to 1 interception this year, one of the highest throwing IQs in the Big 12, and really one of the highest throwing IQs in the NCAA, sitting around the 87th percentile. So he doesn't make dumb decisions. He knows, how to read options. He knows how to, read different coverage types. He protects the ball. So I think that that's going to be a highlight for this matchup is, whether he's able to continue that trend. And then the secondary item is under pressure, still a great quarterback, 85 percentile in pressure passes. So when the defense is blitzing or when they're providing pressure to the quarterback, he's still accurate. He still has the same routine that he goes through, second and third look and getting the ball to the best possible receiving option. So I'm a little bit, again, surprised by this spread, by the line, because I think that Sorsby's a great quarterback, very good pro-style quarterback. So, yeah, any other thoughts here that you want me to
hear? Pull up field view on him. Let's kind of look a little bit at where he's going around, where he's throwing the ball, the kind of shots they're taking. Talk me through this. I mean, you can kind of see It looks like he's most of the time kind of short, middle, and takes some deep shots. But talk us through that.
Yeah, so what this is really looking at here is the field view basically dissects 4 different quadrants of the field. So we're going to talk about deep left, which is balls that are thrown to the left side of the field, 20 yards down the line. We can talk about behind line of scrimmage, which is just any play that happens behind the line of scrimmage. Think screen passes. Short is in that 0 to 10 yard range, and medium's in that 10 to 20 yard range. So where Sorsby is getting most of his yardage, which is fairly common, is in the short center. So a lot of those cut routes, post routes. But he also gets a chunk of his yardage on these deep balls. And so when you look at that and look at how he performs, he's able to kind of manage the field however he wants to based on the different coverages. This is just showing how many yards he gets on each of the different points on the field. I'd rather look at QBR, which is his performance across the field, and it kind of shows a similar story. He's still a very efficient quarterback on the left and center points of the field positionally, but it doesn't really, he's pretty agnostic to the depth of the field. So he's able to break different coverages, look for that next second, third good passing option, and actually make the play. So I think he's a very complete quarterback. He's shown that kind of throughout the year. And so I would be surprised if there is any different story this year in terms of, what he's able to do against Utah.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think one of the big keys of this game is going to be whether Cincinnati can kind of get some running game, get some chunk yardage on the ground, and kind of open up the play action fakes and things like that, so that he can take those deep shots, because he's incredibly accurate all around the field, especially on those deep balls. But that could be kind of where Cincinnati can make up some ground, is those deep balls and that deep threat. So I'm excited to watch this game. I agree with you. I don't know why the line actually started at 7.5 for Utah and has moved to 10.5 now. Yeah. But I think Cincinnati's got a great team, and I'm excited to watch this one as well.
Yeah, is there anything you want to hit on Utah before?
Let's look kind of Utah. Kind of where's the majority of their offense coming from? I know Devin Dampier's kind of been hit or miss in terms of injury wise, but let's kind of look at majority of their offense and all of that.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and look at their Colorado game last week? I think that's a great example of where their offense is coming from. So let me go ahead and get to that game, and we'll take a look at what happened there. Great. So here's an example. I think one of the things that really highlights, take away all the players, how did Utah get 53 points last week? It's because they had 7 scoring opportunities that resulted in 30 points. And when I talk about a scoring opportunity here, what I'm talking about is when the ball is past the 40-yard line of the opposition, are they able to convert points? So that could be a field goal, that could be a touchdown. It doesn't really matter. It's agnostic to that. But when they're past the 40-yard line, are they scoring points? And Utah was able to convert, 7 of these opportunities into 30 points, averaging about 4.29 yards per scoring opportunity. So they were really able to control that portion of the field and continue to drive down the field and make efficient plays, get touchdowns or field goals. So that's kind of the main story of, Utah's offense, is just their efficiency and their ability to get the ball down the field and maintain drives and continue to push. No turnovers. Really owned the time of possession last week. 587 total yards, 422 rushing yards. So putting the ball on the ground.
And obviously, when you only give up 7 points, defense is playing phenomenally.
Yes.
Even if it's a team that isn't having as good a year at like Colorado. I fully agree with you there.
Yeah, and we're seeing the emergence of a new dual threat quarterback in the NCAA with Bird. He's playing a couple games this year, kind of at the end with garbage time, but really showed his prowess last week. Only threw for 140 yards to the air, not super accurate, but overall pretty good game. The reason these headline grades right now, just for some context, say NA is because we want to ensure the percentiles and the grades assigned to quarterbacks hit a minimum threshold. So, if he plays this game and after this game, he'll definitely have some percentiles that we could take a closer look at. But look, just overall, emergence of a new dual threat quarterback, 160 yards on the ground, 140 yards to the air. Overall, really good game from him.
No, it'll be interesting to see, because I know there's been some reporting back and forth on whether Devin Dampier will start this game or will be available for this game. So it'll be interesting to see, because I think obviously Bird had a great game, but having Devin Dampier kind of more of a senior leader out there might be a big help for Utah.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
All right, awesome. So perfect. Let's kind of got through that game. Those were our two in the AQR rankings. Check those out on our Instagram or our X. But those were the two games that were ranked matchups when you look at just resumes as of this point. Next, I think we're going to go talk about another big SEC matchup in the AP poll ranked matchup for the AQR. Vandy is number 17, and they're coming to Austin, Texas, where INSZN is based, our headquarters, to watch to play against the Longhorns. The spread right now is 3 points in favor of Texas, and the over/under is only 45.5 right now. So let's go ahead and talk through that game.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I don't know how to predict this game well. You have Diego Pavia, who's a great quarterback, has shown it this season. Do we have any word on Arch? Is Arch going to play this weekend?
He's practiced the last 2 days.
Okay.
He also got pulled over by the Austin Police Department, but he looked all right in that picture as well that I saw on X. So
okay, perfect. So we're going to assume Arch is playing this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to guess he's going to play. It sounds like Michael Taft, they're kind of the leader of their defense, is also going to play. So I don't know if Arch is fully through protocol, but it looks like he's leaning that way to where he probably will get the start.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, so this is going to be offense versus defense again. Texas's defense, I think, is one of the most underrated defenses in the SEC, but I think in the nation. They rank first on SP Plus rankings, on a neutral site. What SP Plus looks at is saying, hey, we're going to take away every single matchup and saying, hey, if this defense or this offense played on a neutral site versus an average team in the NCAA, how many points would that average team score against the team, or how many points would this team score against an average defense? So if you take away kind of stripping all the bias out, Texas ranks number 1 in SP defense, allowing 9.7 points to an average NCAA team, while Vandy has the number 8 SP plus offensive ranking, where they could put up about 38.8 points in a game. So I think this is going to be kind of another interesting offense versus defense matchup in the SEC. I think the question then relies on, is Arch able to play? And if so, what he's going to be capable of doing.
Right. No, I agree with you. I mean, I think a big portion of this game is going to be Arch and his availability. It's also just going to be kind of the Texas offensive line and whether they're able to kind of establish a run game. Because that has been a big kind of issue for Texas throughout the year. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a big one. I also kind of, Arch obviously started this year as the Heisman favorite. I've seen a lot of talk about Diego Pavia this year, especially recently in terms of Heisman. This could be his Heisman game. And honestly, he needs it. I don't think he's played 4 SEC opponents so far this year, has not thrown for over 200 yards yet.
Can we look at a head-to-head against Arch and Diego?
Yeah, that would be great.
Do that. We can take a look at kind of what they're looking like this season. So let's go. So what stands out to you here? What do you want to talk about here?
I think kind of let's look through just what they're doing differently. I mean, I think this is really interesting to me in terms of looking at turnover worthy plays and big time plays. Kind of both of those show a difference. And even really looking at Arch, although he was limited last year in terms of playing time, when you really look at those turnover-worthy plays, that's a big 4.2% is a big jump for him year over year.
Yeah.
And even Diego Pavia, he's kind of protected the ball a lot more, a lot better this year, and had some big time plays.
And for those who are unfamiliar, just to quickly jump in, big time plays are plays that result in 20 plus yard gains. And so that's kind of a metric that we look at to saying, hey, not only is this quarterback able to operate kind of efficiently in a standard offensive set, are they able to break coverages? Are they able to produce plays that lead to these massive gains that really can flip field positions or can lead to scores? So it's just an interesting note here to point out that Diego does that almost twice as much as Arch has done this year. While the turnover-worthy play that you mentioned earlier, Arch is worse at that. I mean, Arch 4.2% of all of Arch's plays are turnover-worthy plays, whereas Diego's hits about 3.1%. Not a huge differential, but it's definitely something to look out for.
Yep. No, I agree. I think this will be an interesting matchup. Texas at home, obviously reeling after a few losses early. They kind of had a big comeback against Mississippi State. Looked like a team that thought their coach was leaving for the NFL in the first half of that Mississippi State game. Turn it around and have an incredible game. Really, I saw this recently, and maybe you can use Arch to talk through this, but just the difference in the amount of pass attempts he has, or I guess deep pass attempts, 20 plus yards early in a game versus late in a game. I mean, first quarter, I think he has 1 all year that he's thrown deep. Fourth quarter, he has 14. So obviously they start to open up the offense a lot. One of the keys for me for this game for Texas is going to be taking some shots early. You're playing at home. You have Vanderbilt coming in probably for the first time ever coming into Austin as ranked ahead of the University of Texas. Yeah. And you kind of want to establish that you are UT and you are the Longhorns. So I want to see them make some big plays early, take some shots, and then see Arch getting taking care of the rock and getting the ball out early. Yeah. If you looked at a comparison of him last year versus this year, he's holding onto the ball a lot more or a lot longer than he was previously. And that, I know that has a lot to do with some other things, but when pull that up. Cause I know that can have, some things in terms of not feeling like he's reading defenses well enough or anything like that. But man, when he looked really good last year, he was getting the ball out early and often, getting the ball into the hands of his playmakers. And I think that's a key for him is if he does play in this game, he needs to be able to get the ball out early, read a defense, and then just say, all right, that cover 2. I know what where I'm looking here, and get the ball out quick.
Yeah. And so I'm just pulling this up real quick. Time to throw this year is 2.99 seconds. Last year is 2.74 seconds. Doesn't seem like a big difference, but in terms of when the pocket collapses around you, are you getting the ball out, or are you able to make the decision quick enough across every pass play you do? I think that's something that does stand out. Now, discounting it a little bit, when Arch, a lot of his games last year were played during kind of what we're going to call garbage minutes. It's a little bit different. We're not really necessarily comparing apples to apples here, but definitely something to watch out for. And I think that kind of relies on, is Texas's offensive line going to be able to hold and allow Arch to actually get to those second, third looks and make the right play? Yeah,
no, I agree. All right. So any final thoughts, predictions for this game?
I mean, it's kind of a toss-up. I think it's really going to rely on what is Texas's offense able to do. I think we know Texas's defense is good. We know Vanderbilt's offense is good. Yeah. The question remains is Texas able to get the ball down the field and score? Is Arch able to lead his team to a 7-3 record and beat Vanderbilt at home? It kind of remains outstanding for me. I don't want to make a definitive call on which way I think this game's going to go. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think a big question mark is whether Arch is going to play. I mean, from everything I've seen, it looks like he will be, but even though he hasn't played probably to what we all expected, I think he is a big he is the question mark. And if he's out there, I think that the Longhorns are going to win or lose kind of on his shoulders.
Sure.
Not that he's the only player out there, but I think he's going to be the reason they are able to pull this out or anything like that. So perfect. All right, let's kind of like we talked about earlier. This is our first time. We're getting better at this. We'll keep putting content out as much as we can. Follow, subscribe. Check us out on X, Instagram, anything like that. And then go ahead and there's a link in the bio. Go to INSZN.co, INSZNCFB.com. Check it out. It's honestly, like I said, it's a rabbit hole, and you can get some phenomenal content yourself just looking at this and really understand the game a lot more, understand why teams are winning or losing, and then kind of these predictions. Be able to make these predictions yourself. So next, let's go over, I think I have two more games that I've highlighted. This game, Georgia versus Florida. Georgia right now is number 10 in our AQR. DJ Lagway and the Gators are still kind of reeling. Let's kind of look at this from a data perspective and see where this is at.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tale of this game is Florida's offense has really struggled this year. We all thought DJ Lagway was going to spark a little bit more fire into this offense. Georgia's pretty consistent across the board. They rank 14th in SP plus offense and 17th in defense. They're a pretty solid team. I think the question is, what is Florida's offense capable of doing against Georgia's defense? Let me just take a little sidestep and we'll look at what Georgia's defense has allowed this year versus what Florida's offense has produced this year. And kind of the story here is Florida's been able to do pretty good. Georgia does allow a little bit more than what I think an SP plus ranked 17th defense would allow. They allow about 230 yards passing per game. They allow around 100 yards rushing per game. Florida's been able to kind of move the ball a little bit more consistently on the ground with 130 yards per game. So this is kind of a weird toss-up for me. I mean, normally when you see an SEC 6-1 Georgia against a 3-4 Florida, you would automatically say, okay, the Bulldogs are going to take this. But I think there's more in the data than that's actually kind of in the story. And I think Florida's 3-4 record might actually understate how they are as a team. Any thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree. I mean, they aren't. I mean, they are a 3-4 team, but at the same time, they're not in terms of the talent they have, the ability. I mean, a few of their losses have just been chalk it up to just losing the turnover battle.
Sure.
You know, they just, that's kind of the one knock on them, that if they protected the ball a little more, Florida might be 6-2 right now, or 6-1. You know, so that's kind of the big knock on them. Kind of the I think the spread. I don't know if I said this earlier, but 7.5 in favor of Georgia. So you're getting 7.5 points for Florida, and then the over under is 50.5. I think this is going to be a much better game than people expect. Florida, you know, despite kind of losing their coach and all of that, have not had a bunch of guys enter the portal. They kind of have a lot of guys that are still sticking around and playing through this. And I fully expect Florida to put up a really good fight. You know, I would not be surprised if Florida keeps this game close into the fourth and eventually pulls it out.
I mean, I think just from a high level, it's going to be a lower scoring game. Florida's defense is pretty good. Mm-hmm. The question is, what is their offense going to be able to produce against Georgia's defense? I mean, but I think one thing we need to talk about is Florida has the highest strength of schedule through the season thus far. I mean, their losses are USF, which, you know, questionable, but USF is better than we thought. LSU, Miami, and Texas A&M. I mean, they have we're not going to call them good losses, but they're against good teams. Against Mississippi State, 23-21, Mississippi State team that put up a pretty good fight last weekend against Texas. Ultimately resulted in a loss, but they're coming off of a bye week or an off week. They might be able to kind of recalibrate, reposition how they want to try to break down Georgia's defense. So that's kind of how I'm looking at this game. I still think Georgia takes this. A touchdown, what did you say, 7.5 points?
Yeah, it's moved to 7.5 now.
Yeah, I think that Georgia covers that, but I think it's going to be a lower scoring affair unless Lagway can put something together, spark this offense a little bit, or they're able to go back down to kind of relying a little bit more on their run game. That's just kind of my thoughts from it. Anything you want to touch on a little bit more in depth?
No, I think that's exactly right. I think that the kind of that Florida game, just looking at their schedule so far, they've been through the gauntlet, and it's not stopping now with having to play Georgia as well. But kind of just looking through those games, the LSU game, that's the game they had 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
I think this game comes down to the turnover battle. If Florida's able to hold on and protect the ball, hold on to the ball, kind of move some drives, this could be a really close game. And at 7.5, I might be a little worried unless they put up some points. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, I agree with you. I think Georgia probably pulls this out, probably covers that 7.5, but it's a lot closer than probably you think when you really get into
noise.
the data.
If you look at the records in a chamber.
Yes, I agree. So like I said, that's kind of our Georgia-Florida preview. This is our first college football show. We'll be doing this for the rest of the season, and then on and on. We'll probably in the offseason talk transfer portal and things like that. But just wanted to let y'all know we will get better at this. Follow, like, subscribe. Check us out at INSZN.co or INSZNCFB.com.
Yep.
Both of those will pull it up. And then on X and Instagram as well. So thank y'all for joining. Our last game that I had circled is we're going to go over to the ACC Miami, going to Dallas and to play SMU and the Mustangs. The spread has moved from 2.5 all the way to 12.5. And then the over-under right now is 50.5. So want to talk through that a little bit as well, kind of use our scouting report, go through that and see where these teams match up.
Yeah, I think this one, do you mind reminding me of what the line is again on this game?
Right now it's 12.5 in favor of Miami. So It started out at 2.5. There's kind of been some big swings back and forth, but 12.5 right now as we sit.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great Miami team. Carson Beck's been great this year. He's made some mistakes. He's, in some ways he's lived up to the hype. In some ways he hasn't. But I think overall this is a good Miami team. They rank 13th in SP Plus offensive ranking and 24th in defense. So just a solid team all around. SMU's defense struggles. They struggle against good offenses. And I think that's going to be kind of the story that we talk about. And the story of the game is SMU's defense capable of stopping Miami's offense? Why don't we go ahead and take a look at...
Well, and kind of to your point, you pull that up, but to your point, is SMU's offense capable of scoring on Miami's defense? Coming off a 13-12 loss against Wake Forest.
Yeah.
So pull that up and let's look kind of at the data.
Yeah, so I mean, if we just look at this from purely a metric standpoint, Miami's averaging 2.71 rush touchdowns per game, where SMU allows half a touchdown per game. So there's a stark difference that's kind of very clear right away. Is the rush game is going to probably be a larger story of this game than maybe Kevin Jennings versus Carson Beck. In terms of is SMU's defense capable of stopping the run game of Miami? On the converse, we can look at how Miami's defense has fared this season versus what SMU is able to produce, and it's kind of the same story. SMU puts the ball on the ground and they get touchdowns, through running, less so through passing. So Miami allows 0.43 rush touchdowns per game. SMU produces about 1.5 rush touchdowns per game. In terms of rushing yards, SMU puts up about 120 a game. Miami allows around 90. So it's really going to be kind of a tale. It's going to be on the ground. It's going to be, is SMU's defense capable of stopping Miami's run game? And if so, what can SMU's offense do against Miami's defense? I mean, it's kind of like every game is, but that's kind of how I'm looking at this. I could see a lower scoring affair just from that standpoint of there's not going to be, I don't think the story is going to be this air raid, lots of score back and forth. I think it's going to happen on the ground, eat up a lot of clock. So that's kind of how I view it from a analytical standpoint.
Yeah, no, you're right. This is going to be one in the trenches. This is a game that both teams are going to establish the run, and really it's going to be a game based on time of possession. Who's able to hold onto the ball, sustain drives, protect the ball. I know kind of one of the reason Miami lost that game against Louisville was just some turnovers. And so if they're able to hold onto the ball, protect the ball, and kind of have some sustained drives throughout the game, I expect Miami to go in there and come out of Dallas with a win. So perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. Any final thoughts, Christian, that you have kind of as we enter week 10?
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a weekend that we were all looking forward to when the season started with a lot of ranked matchups. Hasn't really come down that way. A handful of ranked matchups. I think, it's going to be exciting to see Miami versus SMU. I think that's going to be a game that not a lot of people are thinking about right now because SMU, started preseason. Do you remember?
12, 14, something like that.
And then had loss against Baylor early on.
And TCU.
And kind of sputtered a little bit through the season. And Miami's been kind of moving just kind of around that top 10 all season. So that's kind of the game I'm looking forward to the most from an analytics standpoint of, how does that actually translate to what data we're seeing? But other than that, I'm excited about this weekend. Texas Vandy is going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, just looking forward to it. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to visit the site, leave us a comment, let us know what we could do better, what we could do worse, and any new features that you guys are interested in, any new types of data you guys are interested in. Let me know. I'm happy to connect with you and talk a little bit more.
Yeah, perfect. No, anyone reach out to us, comment below, reach out to us on X, Instagram. Go to INSZN. You can find some our email addresses and all of that. Just follow, like, subscribe, keep watching. We will have better content. We will get better at this. But I appreciate y'all watching. Thank y'all for joining. Follow, like, subscribe. Christian, thank you for joining us as well. And we will see y'all next week.